he just can't let it go. Rian Johnson just cannot get over The Last Jedi and the man babies that called him out for some of his decisions in regards to the middle part of the unnecessary Star Wars sequel trilogy. Johnson's out there promoting Knives Out. Is anyone going to go see this movie? Is this going to make money? I don't know. Frozen's out too. I don't know if it's going to make money. So he's out there promoting Knives Out, and of course he has to bring up Star Wars and the toxic fandom like it's 2017. Again, like he's on repeat here. We're going to talk about Rian Johnson, Star Wars, and the toxic fandom that he can't decide if it's a big threat or a little threat. Some days, depending on who you ask, there are a lot of toxic Star Wars fans, and some days they don't matter. It just depends on what's convenient for that interview on that particular day. And then we'll talk a little bit about Kathleen Kennedy and the fact that she's probably out the door. A lot of people are speculating Kathleen is out the door. We did a video about Kathleen Kennedy yesterday, and we'll talk a little bit more about today that she's not sure if she's going to stick around or not. She's not sure. Nobody knows. I think she's gone. I think she's gone. She's basically a lame duck president of Lucasfilm at this point. Before we get into the video, please subscribe if you haven't already. We're at about 75,000 subs, hoping for 100,000 soon here on CLOWNFISH TV. Your support has been greatly appreciated. It helps us bring you content like this. Now, before I get into it, we're going to talk about the Rise of Skywalker. I actually got an email earlier today from a viewer who said that they were Disney annual pass holders, and now Disney is hitting up the pass holders to buy Rise of Skywalker tickets. And I guess this has not happened before with pass holders. They haven't pushed people into buying Star Wars tickets. I thought it was sold out. I thought the Rise of Skywalker just was smashing records and all the seats were taken. Apparently not. Apparently we have to push people into buying tickets. So Rian Johnson did an interview for Knives Out, which I thought was a remake of Clue when I first saw it. But anyway, he can't let the Star Wars toxic fandom go. He can't let them go. So he does this big long interview in Variety. 1, 2, 3 questions in. We get 3 questions in. It's like the Tootsie Pop. How many licks until you get to a Trump question? 1, a 2, a 3. 3 questions in. This film has lots of references to the current Trump-based political climate. Critics have been picking up a lot of the political parts. I would hope so. It's not very subtle. This isn't a very subtle film. Yeah, so 3 questions in, and they talk about Trump. Let's go out to comicbook.com. This is the version Geeky sent me. Star Wars The Last Jedi director notes how small a part of the fandom toxic trolls are. They're very, very small. They're very small. They're so small, in fact, that that they tanked Solo. So small, in fact, that they didn't show up to Galaxy's Edge. So small, in fact, that they probably prompted reshoots of The Rise of Skywalker. Just not very many of them. Not very many of them at all. The release of Star Wars The Last Jedi has earned the stigma that it turned a large portion of fans against writer-director Rian Johnson. And the entire franchise, to be honest. Though the filmmaker recently pointed out how, despite the most toxic fans being the loudest, it only represents a small part of the overall Star Wars community he has interacted with over the years. There's no denying that there is a large number of hateful fans on various social media platforms, but it's clear that Johnson knows how much larger the world of Star Wars fandom is than just what happens on the internet, with most of his interactions, even with dissenters, being thoughtful and engaging. Well, that's the thing. That is true. You can actually interact with people who you vehemently disagree with in a somewhat thoughtful and respectful manner. You can have your disagreements. But the thing is Rian Johnson really wasn't engaging with people in a very thoughtful, engaging manner. As I recall, Rian Johnson was calling large portions of people who did not like his movie, calling them trolls, calling them man babies, behaving in a way that is not a good look for Lucasfilm, for Disney. But I digress. What do I know? I'm just some stupid idiot on the internet. You always have to contextualize how small a part of the fandom that section is, Johnson shared with Variety about online trolls. I'm not talking about people who like or dislike a particular movie. I'm just talking about people who disliked my movie. I'm not talking about people who like or dislike a particular movie. I'm talking about the people who have dedicated themselves to abusing people who are involved in the films It's so small, but it gets blown up. Having been in the hurricane for the last 2 years, I can tell you 95% of what I get even on Twitter is lovely and thoughtful and engaging, even when people don't like my movie. Having said that, it's a problem that every type of fandom is dealing with. It's almost a byproduct of this system that is the internet. Yeah, I agree. But the problem that we're seeing, that fans are seeing because of the internet, is that we have the people that make the things going on the offensive and saying some really garbage things on social media, and then complaining when the fans hit back. Now, I do agree that there are people who take things way too far and who fire the first shots. But from where I'm sitting, as someone who watched the thing go down with Rian Johnson was pretty butthurt that people didn't like his movie. He was butthurt that there were YouTubers calling out the plot holes, calling out the decisions made, especially in regards to Luke Skywalker, calling out some of the issues they had with the movie. And he got pretty testy, and it just escalated. Next thing you know, everybody is a horrible person, possibly Russian bots, and they're attacking Kelly Marie Tran. You know, and that anybody who dislikes The Last Jedi is an awful person. And that's basically, you know, Lucasfilm and Rian Johnson and maybe even Kathleen Kennedy drew that battle line. Lucasfilm representatives absolutely drew that line in the sand. We saw it kind of escalate with people like Chuck Wendig, etc., where, you know, opinions on a movie, opinions on the direction of the franchise sort of got weirdly intermingled with politics, and it just became a huge shitstorm. So I agree. I think everybody needs to sit down and just talk it out. And that being said, you know, if Mark Hamill tells you this is not Luke Skywalker, for the love of God, listen to Mark Hamill. He is Luke Skywalker. Anyway, despite being 2 years since The Last Jedi and Rian Johnson can't get over it, virtually every discussion about Johnson, whether it be in regards to his previous Star Wars films or his planned trilogy of new films, not going to happen, results in angry reactions from those who didn't like his film. Earlier this year, the Game of Thrones guys stepped away from their plans to deliver Lucasfilm new Star Wars movies, with at least one source saying the pair didn't want to subject themselves to the toxic Star Wars fans after already experiencing abuse and harassment in response to the final season of Game of Thrones. That could be potentially true. The other version is Kathleen Kennedy shit-canned them. The other version is that Lucasfilm got rid of them because they signed a deal with Netflix, and Netflix is now a fierce Disney competitor, and Disney did not want to give money to people who were playing for the other team. That is another version of that story, and we probably won't know the truth anytime soon. These recent comments echo remarks Johnson made it last year about how much positivity he has experienced from fans, despite the vicious attacks he was subjected to. He said some dick things in public. I'm sorry, I can't defend you, Rian Johnson. Do I think everybody deserves all the hate they get online? Hell no. I know people take it too far. But these Hollywood types, they're so tone deaf. They're completely tone deaf. They think they can say or do anything they want and that the rules don't apply to them. They expect to be respected. They demand to be respected and treated with kindness when they themselves say and do shitty things on the internet. But, you know, the rules don't apply to them. And I think that kind of elitist attitude is what is killing a lot of these TV shows. Even if the shows are decent, even if the movies are decent, people now, thanks to social media, they know who's actually working on the shows. And a lot of times they're like, yeah, this person's a complete asshole. I'm not going to watch their movie, you know, because they're saying horrible things, you know, and I don't want to support that. There were death threats. It's balanced by a few things. 90% of the stuff I got online was not only lovely and encouraging, but phenomenally thoughtful, he said. Fans would send me essays on the movie. The other 10% is just loud and they get amplified. At first I was freaked out, but then I realized the things people were angry about are the things I'm most proud about. Proud I destroyed Luke Skywalker forever. I had one chance and I blew it. While Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is set to hit theaters on December 20th, there's no official details on when to expect Johnson's new Star Wars films. Never. I can't believe anyone at Disney, given the shitstorm around this movie, would let Johnson anywhere near Star Wars anytime soon. Especially if Kathleen Kennedy walks, which I think she's probably going to do. They said Star Wars uncertainty extends to Kathleen Kennedy's Disney future. Yeah, I love this. Are there any fans worse than Star Wars fans? Probably not. With Rise of Skywalker set to wrap up the original saga when it opens on December 20th, it's fair to say some are waiting with knives out to see what comes next. Kathy's out the door. She's got one foot out the door. She's 66. I actually thought she was older than that. She's 66. I think she's a lame duck president of Lucasfilm. I think they're going to look at the Rise of Skywalker and decide where to go with Star Wars movies from here on out. I mean, everything looks like it's going direct to TV at this point. Like Star Wars has been relegated to TV. Yes, sources say Kennedy has a film on deck for 2022, but not the one being developed by the Last Jedi filmmaker Rian Johnson. No announcement is planned until January. Kennedy's contract is up in 2021. I don't see them making 2022. How are they going to do that? How are they going to do 2022? They would have had to start filming this thing already, wouldn't they have? Everything we've heard is it's all TV. It's all TV. So her contract's up in 2021. She's going to be gone before this movie comes out. They remind people, and again, this kind of goes back to our video yesterday. They remind people that she was picked by Lucas before he sold to Disney, not Iger. It's not hard to imagine that Iger would like to install his own choice to head this bauble that cost $4 billion and has generated some headaches since. At least they can admit that. It's not hard to imagine that Iger has not enjoyed the negative noise around the franchise, despite the nearly $5 billion global box office from Disney's 4 installments since 2015. They're talking about Feige being involved. So Feige might actually, wind up with both Marvel and Star Wars, and I don't know how I feel about that. I've said before that I don't like the Marvel style humor that they've been injecting into the Star Wars movies. It doesn't feel Star Wars. I did not like the first episode of The Mandalorian that much because of that goofy ass alien with the Marvel type humor, and he looked like a Star Trek alien. Doesn't suit the franchise, and I could totally see them potentially going all like Guardians of the Galaxy on Star Wars, and that is not something I want for this franchise. And then the real kick to the balls would be if they decided to be like, yeah, the galaxy far, far away, yeah, that was in the distant past of the MCU. That Star Wars actually took place in the MCU millions of years ago or thousands of years ago. God, I'd be afraid of that. So I don't know. I guess my thing is like, can they not decide? Can they not decide if the quote-unquote fandom menace is a big threat or not a big threat? On one hand, they try to dismiss the fans who are upset with Star Wars, and then they also blame them for everything. I think they're a pretty big threat if they're tabling movies, if they're getting rid of directors. I think that Star Wars is actually in a worse state than Disney will let on. I think it really is in a bad place right now, but you're never going to know how bad it really is because they're going to fold those numbers, into other divisions and make it look like everything's, relatively great. But it's definitely a damaged brand. It's absolutely a damaged brand. And look, Disney doesn't want to hear it. But you can trace a lot of the negative feelings towards Star Wars back to Rian Johnson, back to The Last Jedi, back to the Lucasfilm and Disney hijinks around the release of the movie, attacking the fandom, all of that. And we saw what happened with Solo. We saw that people were over Star Wars. It wasn't because there was too much Star Wars. People were just over Star Wars. I mean, a Star Wars movie in May should have done really well, especially with some of the most popular characters in the franchise, and it bombed. Solo bombed. Nobody saw that coming, except the people who have been paying attention that Star Wars is absolutely a damaged brand, and I don't know where they go from here. Maybe Bob Iger is just gonna be like, hey, it's not my problem. I'm out of here in a couple of years. I don't really give a shit. Let's put some TV shows out there. Let's patch up Galaxy's Edge. And I am out of here, and it's not my problem, and it's up to the next person to deal with the Star Wars mess. Who knows? Maybe they'll call George. Maybe they should just call George back in. Who knows? All right, so I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture, news, views, and rants here on CLOWNFISH TV. We'll talk to you guys later. Hey guys, thanks for watching CLOWNFISH TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.